Videos on social media show vehicles performing stunts and revving engines while dozens of people gathered in the roadway. MPD's Street Takeover Task Force is still reviewing whether there were more arrests and citations that night. Jessica Gatso, WTMJ News.
Overseas, pilots from a U.S. Army helicopter were rescued near the Strait of Hormuz this morning. Not clear how that helicopter might have crashed. Meanwhile, military strikes between Israel and Iran could be heating back up, both sides after they originally said we're going to halt exchanges.
That's not to say all is stable here in the region, even after Iran and Israel agreed to not strike one another. We saw alerts going off in northern Israel, in southern Israel, due to drone launch attacks coming from both Lebanon and Yemen. And the Israelis say they will continue to operate directly against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon.
That's a News Nation's Robert Sherman. President Trump says he did have a good phone call with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to uphold that fragile ceasefire with Iran. Today, NASA announcing the crew for the next Artemis mission.
This next mission is going to launch next year. It won't go to the moon. It's actually just going to orbit the Earth, but it's going to test the rendezvous and docking capabilities between NASA's Orion spacecraft and the lunar landers from Blue Origin and SpaceX. Those are the same lunar landers that will bring the astronauts to the surface of the moon, but first they've got to test them.
That's ABC's Gio Benitez. Time for News About Your Money, the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The Dow is in the green, up 131 points at 50,917. The NASDAQ is off about 182 at 25,746. And the S&P 500 is down 16 points at 7,389. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:04.
Don't think twice. Call Geis.
A great way to add value and curb appeal to your home is with a new LiftMaster or CHI maintenance-free garage door. Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik. A study by Remodelers Magazine reports that the average return on investment is an amazing 82%. Garage doors rank first among all home improvement projects. To see Geis's huge selection of doors, visit their showroom in Brookfield, or you can also visit their online showroom at geisdoors.com. Geis has everything from alley doors to custom wood designer doors and everything in between. Remember, for all your garage door needs, you call Geis at 262-784-4250. That number again, 262-784-4250. It's Geis. Visit them online at geisdoors.com.
Don't think twice. Call Geis.
Here's to sweet summer days together with friends and family in Wisconsin. To discovering magic in every moment.
Hey, Mom, over here.
And to reconnecting through a world filled with wonder.
Wow.
Here's to supper club celebrations and dancing until the sun goes down. Here's to those who Wisconsin. Plan your summer getaway at travelwisconsin.com.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano talking with Dr. Mike Nolte at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Doc, a lot of people are hesitant to visit a surgeon for spine care.
The good news is that the vast majority of patients that I see and the majority of conditions that I can see can be successfully treated without surgery. And I don't want patients to think that just because you're seeing a spine surgeon means that you're going to be signing up for surgery. We talk about, in my clinic, kind of a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C.
Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, there is a difference. orthowisconsin.com.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all sports desk. Game 2 tonight for the Brewers and A's in Las Vegas, and it was a wild one last night. Offensive slugfest. The Brewers pulled it out, a 15-14 win in 12 innings. The teams combining for 11 home runs. 4 of them for the Crew. Manager Pat Murphy on Wisconsin's Morning News.
There was a lot of well-hit balls, but the environment's different when you're playing an offensive place like that where there's altitude, the wind was blowing out, and it's an offensive place like Colorado, maybe even more so last night.
That 15-14 win for the Brewers, 4th game in MLB history with at least 29 runs and 11 homers. Robert Gasser on the mound for the Brewers tonight. All of our coverage starting at 8:30 here on WTMJ. NBA Finals, the Spurs, a much-needed win in Game 3 over the Knicks, 115-111. New York still up 2-1 in the series. Tonight, Game 4 in the Stanley Cup Finals, Golden Knights with the 2-1 series lead over the Hurricanes. And Green Bay Packers mandatory minicamp getting started today. OTAs will then wrap up next week. Players will have a bit of an extended break then before training camp next month. Take a look at the roads, your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. Just seeing some typical slowdowns in some of our construction zones. That includes 94 east and westbound, right near the stadium, so kind of tapping the brakes between Hawley and 35th. And then also seeing a few backups in the work zone on I-41. This is southbound between Good Hope and Capitol. Rest of the system looking pretty good.
Traffic is sponsored by Capri Communities. Enjoy Life Active Aging Symposium. Visit EnjoyLifeSymposium.com. Live life to the fullest at Capri's Enjoy Life Symposium on Wednesday, June 10th. This free event for older adults includes speakers, exhibitors, activities, and more. Register today at EnjoyLifeSymposium.com.
In your WTMJ forecast, we could maybe see a shower pop up today, but otherwise we should be partly cloudy, humid with a high near 80 degrees. Tonight, we could see a few showers and storms develop, some patchy fog, a low down to 63, and then we really warm up. Wednesday, hot and humid. We could see storms and some possible severe weather late tomorrow, high of 92, and then on Thursday, partly cloudy, still hot and humid with shower and storm chances and a high of 90. Right now, 74 degrees in Madison, it's 71 in Kenosha, and sitting at 73 degrees in Milwaukee. I'm Neil Doyle, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:09.
Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at The Avenue. It's time for Point Taken. Here are your hosts, Steve Scafidi and Kristen Bry.
Happy Tuesday. Steve is still on vacation. He'll be out for the whole week. He'll be back on Monday. But joining me for the full hour today, it has been a minute. She has been very busy teaching the youths over at Marquette University. But Judge Mary Kuhnmensch is back in seat for the full hour.
Thanks for having me on, Kristen. It's been a Milwaukee minute, but I was using that time productively, shaping and hopefully causing young people to think about things in a different way. As I am a teacher over at an instructor, an adjunct professor at Marquette University, and I'm having a ball.
What were you teaching? What was the class?
I was teaching a class called Empathy.
Oh.
Empathy, Crime, and Justice. So I had a class of about 26 upperclassmen, juniors and seniors, mostly seniors, at Marquette in the pre-law and the criminal justice program, talking about the role, if any, of empathy in the criminal justice system. And I had a remarkable experience because I had 26 really engaged young people who taught me a thing or two. And it was like teaching my grandchildren, and it was a great exchange and a great opportunity that I couldn't turn down. And they've asked me to come back and do it again in the fall.
All right, well, we're going to get into these topics, but now I'm fascinated by this topic. So did you create the curriculum? Did you pick out all the readings and everything?
Yes, I did.
So what is the... It's so fascinating. So what are some of the things that you have them read as far as what role empathy plays in our criminal justice system?
Well, I had them read, believe it or not, Jesus' Sermon on the Mount.
Okay.
That's otherwise known as the Gospel of Matthew, I think verses 3 through 9, the Beatitudes. I had them where Jesus taught, he's the original preacher of empathy and care, walk in another one's shoes. Yeah. I had them reread that everybody, I think, has read either in high school or college, To Kill a Mockingbird, and the empathy of someone like Atticus Finch. And I said, be an Atticus Finch. And in what ways was he empathetic, and how did that play into his defense of Tom, who was accused of a crime that he did not commit? And then I also had them read Night by Elie Wiesel and his experience in Auschwitz, and how people crack and lose all sense of empathy when they're put in extreme positions. And how do we judge the lack of empathy among even the people in the camps who started turning on each other just for survival? So, we looked at it from a lot of different angles and a lot of different generational perspectives and different extreme situations. But I walked them. I think we even had a reading. I had them read the Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln and his second inaugural address with justice for all and malice towards none. How empathetic he was in trying to get the reintegration of the Confederate States back into the Union. So it was an interesting class for me to design and then ultimately teach and then have students react to it. And just a very, very good experience. And I'll be teaching it again. And I'm looking at tweaking it a little bit, but not much, because the feedback I got from my students was that they looked at empathy in a completely different way, and in terms of how they're going to now approach that and use that in their own interactions. I talked about, for their generation, how empathetic is that you put your parents on a schedule as to when you're going to call them, and you don't even call them. You have Friday at 9 a.m. when you have a free hour is when you text them. And I said, you know how...
Is this what your kids do to you?
Of course. But even my grandchildren. And I've told them that their Christmas gift to me this year is to actually call me and surprise me as opposed to texting me, hey, Grandma, anybody using the Packer tickets? So I tried to talk to them in language that they can understand. And I also told them that they should be the empathetic generation, because they're the ones where my generation was tucking and ducking under desks because of nuclear war and the Cuban Missile Crisis of the 60s. Their generation has lived through some, incredibly harmful to their mental health and to their physical health, obviously, but school shootings and having to learn how to protect yourself when there is an armed person has entered the building, and they've grown up with school shootings ever since Columbine, all the way through the university shootings, and some of the other more violent circumstances that they've had to endure, including COVID and having to learn remotely, and so I try to cut them a little slack, because Gen Zers have had it tough. They had COVID, they've had school shootings, they are learning in a completely different environment. I don't give them a free pass in terms of how they're empathetic, but I talk to them in those terms so that they understand that, empathy is a two-way street. You've experienced some of these things, so when you're interacting with somebody who may need, 15 minutes of your time to just listen to them, or to call them and call your grandparents, call your parents, just to engage in a actual conversation and sort of hiding behind social media and our cell phones with texting. I think it's done incredible damage to people's mental health and to how we communicate with each other. And I think it's at the root, not of all evil, but it's certainly at the root of a lot of the divisiveness in this country. People can say ungodly things to each other, and they're anonymous. I'm a public figure. I've lived with it my entire life, having been in the public realm, and that's part of the business. I happen to be friends with somebody who's in a fairly well-known actress in Hollywood, and she lives in Nashville, but we just texted about this yesterday, about how she tries to put herself out there for her fans with respect to social media, but the minute she takes a position, whether it's a conservative position or a more liberal position, it's a no-win. People just jump all over, and so her natural inclination is to retreat. And I told her to keep up the good fight, and that she still needs to be engaged. And she said, I probably do, but I'm second guessing myself every time I interact with people and I get a response.
I got to cut you off right there. It was fascinating. I also wanted to hear, maybe on a different time, the argument for no empathy, if there is one, and if you teach it at all. But we'll move on from there. When we come back, retired judge, adjunct professor Mary Kuhnmensch is here for the full hour, and we're going to talk a little bit about those California election results and how they're still counting them and what that means for us as far as the messaging for this fall. So stay with us on Point Taken.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft, but that's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If they find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes in your financial accounts, they'll alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that can make all the difference. Save up to 30% off your first year with the promo code BECK. LifeLock.com. 800-LIFELOCK. 1-800-LIFELOCK or LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK at LifeLock.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Dave Spano, CEO of Annex Wealth Management.
We have a contractual agreement that we give our clients, this fiduciary standard of care. We also say fee-only fiduciary. So a lot of people are kind of twisting it these days and saying, I'm a fiduciary some of the time. I call them part-time fiduciaries. And that's the reason why we say fee-only fiduciary. That means we do not accept commissions.
Know the difference with Annex Wealth Management. Click Get Started at AnnexWealth.com.
Keeping you updated on culture and creativity. What's on Tap with Sandy Max.
The creator of this massive Bob Uecker mural is in the studio with me right now, artist Mauricio Ramirez.
Take it piece by piece, step by step, and just focus on a certain area, that most difficult part of the mural, which is the portraiture work. I'm just really hyper-focused on making sure that I get all the details right.
Weeknights at 6 on WTMJ and the What's on Tap podcast on WTMJ.com.
Welcome back to Point Taken. I am Kristen Bry. Steve is out for the week. We are talking to retired Judge Mary Kuhnmensch, back from, it's been a minute since she's been here, largely requested.
Probably, I think, March, right
Since
around
March?
my birthday. Yeah, it was because I gave a shout out to one of my grandsons for their birthday. So, in fairness, Steve had asked me, and I said, you know, I've committed to Marquette, and I'm busy with that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and also prepping, and there's meetings involved in it, and developing curriculum for a class that you're now going to teach on a regular basis at Marquette. What I really loved about the experience is I loved the Jesuit philosophy of care for the whole, you know, the intellectual part of a student, but their mental, their emotional, their spiritual, and their physical side. And their new president, well, he's not so new. He's been there he was the provost. Kimo Ayun has been, he's a friend of mine, and he's been the president there for, I think, going on 2 years. But he's done a wonderful job of really continuing Lovell's philosophy of making it a student-centric organization, and all of the faculty that I have been dealing with are so on board with that and so conscious of their responsibilities to the students, you know, because they're paying a pretty good nickel to go there. Yeah. So we are of one mind on that everything we're doing is for the benefit of the students.
Absolutely. All right. Well, not that this affects us directly, but it probably will affect us in one way because it is a bigger conversation around voting fraud. So California had their primary election a week ago, and the results are starting to finally come to a close, but it's been almost a week after Election Day, and they were still counting votes. And so now we know President Trump has taken that opportunity to make claims that this is evidence of fraud. He stormed out of the NBC interview over the weekend with Kristen Welker because she was pushing back on that. And we're now potentially seeing the same argument that could be made this fall in places where the election does not go Republicans' way. And if this comes back as far as this is clearly fraud is happening, because we had yesterday, Mike Johnson was asked about this. And this is what he had to say.
I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm saying it stinks to high heaven, and everybody knows that. Let's remove the appearance of impropriety. Let's have what a concept. Let's have votes on an election the day of the election. That's what many states are able to do. I think California is playing around with this.
But what evidence is there to prove that there was rigged?
Look, some of these efforts are so diabolical and so far upstream it is impossible to prove. But I think everybody knows instinctively something is wrong here. And that's a concern. We need people to believe in the integrity of our election system.
Impossible to prove. When you make that argument, how is there ever going to be anything settled as far as trusting elections if you have some of the top, like one of the top leaders in the Republican Party saying, well, we know that it's happening. We just can't prove it because it's impossible. And how is anyone ever going to trust elections.
That's there's a lot to unpack here, and I want to put my teacher hat on and talk really about what I think is going on in terms of election law. I have somewhat of I think credibility and background in it because I've worked as an election supervisor. I did it during 2020 when COVID was going on. They were desperate to have supervisors, and a couple of us judges decided. I had just recently retired. And much to my family's dismay, I agreed, and I served as a election supervisor in a huge chunk of Milwaukee County, and we took enough precautions to protect me, I thought, and so I think I have some credibility because I've actually worked in the system. What I would say about Mike Johnson's comments, though, is that's the problem, whether that's coming from him as the speaker or if it would come from, a leader of the Democratic Party. That is one of the most harmful things that we can state, because he's stating it as a fact, and it's not a fact. So, we're getting to the point where leaders are trying to persuade all Americans that instinctively we all know this. Well, I consider myself a fairly intelligent person, and I don't instinctively think that. Talk about the dumbing down of America, to paraphrase Charlie Sykes. The reality is that that is a very harmful and untruthful thing to say. You are stating something as a fact and say, yeah, that's true. So as to cause doubt in every institution, including our elections, so as to curry favor with conspiracy theorists and the sort of the lowest base among us, instead of raising the bar and trying to raise the elevation or to discuss it in reasonable and rational terms as to this is what's really going on. And this is why people like Governor Newsom are even, I can see Mike Johnson saying this. Newsom has even said this is going to create the length of how long it's taking to do this is causing people that are already predisposed to believe in conspiracy theories and to question every fact or every institution we have. We're turning into a nation of doubters so that anybody who comes up with their own set of facts, that's credible. Why is that more credible than mine? Because facts are empirical. They can be proven through science, through intelligence, through reading, through using our brains and rationalizing. It's what we instruct juries to do. Use not only your common sense, but use each other and the backgrounds that you each bring with how you view things and come to a verdict in this case. So to sort of break down what he's saying, separate and apart from this real issues that are going on in this election, I want to just say cast that aside completely, Kristen. Have your audience cast that aside. Resist the temptation to jump on a bandwagon that says, of course there's something going on. Of course it's wrong. Of course there's, only a dummy wouldn't believe that. Well, no, that's simply not true. And we've got to have more people that simply go back to Mike Johnson, to a Democrat or Republican who espouses that kind of nonsense and say, no, that's simply not true. Let's put our intelligence to work. Let's problem solve, work the problem as they did in Apollo 13, people. Let's work the problem and figure out how we fix this. And I've got some ideas about that that I'll share in just a moment.
Absolutely. All right. So when we come back, we'll talk about some solutions to this with retired Judge Mary Kuhnmensch. And I'm Kristen Bry, and this is Point Taken.
Mark Reinhardt is IT manager at ACS Group. Mark, your company has had business technology from James Imaging Systems for years. Right out of the blocks, would you recommend James to others?
Yes, I've had nothing but a great experience with James Imaging Systems, and I would definitely want to share that with others.
A great experience in what way?
I think it's just a personal touch. They actually listen to our needs, walking our business, and finding out what solutions we need to do our job better.
James Imaging Systems, AI-driven workflow automation, security enhancements, and digital transformation, adding up to more bang for your business technology dollar.
Yeah, we are absolutely getting a return on investment on the dollars we're spending with James Imaging Systems.
Mark, safe to say ACS Group is happy?
Very happy with James Imaging Systems. People are smiling.
Put a smile on your face with James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com.
It's WTMJ's Julia Fellow for Sweet Talks Medical Spa in Menominee Falls. If you're looking for expert care without that cold clinical vibe, Sweet Talks is where beauty, wellness, and self-confidence comes together in such a fun, welcoming space. Sweet Talks offers injectables, advanced skin treatments, even wellness services like weight loss or hormone optimization. Sweet Talks provides a comprehensive consultation designed just for you. Learn more at sweettalks.com.
Father's Day is coming up, and let's be honest, Dad doesn't need another tie. Give him something he actually wants. New windows that lower energy bills, a durable new roof, beautiful siding, or a bath remodel he can brag about to every guest who visits. And during the Exterior Pros and Baths June savings event, you'll get $3,000 off your project. That's $3,000 in instant savings, but only for a limited time. Call 262-800-4274 or visit extpros.com today. Exterior Pros and Baths. Big savings done right.
Hey, Father's Day's almost here. Treat your father to the magnificent all-you-can-eat Father's Day brunch at the historic Fox and Hound Supper Club right near Holy Hill. Kids and grandkids under 3 eat for free. Google, call, and reserve your Father's Day table today. It's the famous Fox and Hounds.
Giving your liver a spring cleaning is easy with Active Liver from New Nordic. Search for Active Liver by New Nordic on Amazon, CVS, Wegmans, or GNC.
Get the help you need Saturday morning with How To Radio. At 7, it's the WTMJ Fix-It Show with David Nason, featuring this week's guest, Siding Unlimited. At 9, plan your dream vacation with the Fox World Travel Show. At 10, get financial guidance during Money Talk. Contact Annex Wealth Management for an unbiased review of your investments at annexwealth.com. How To Radio, Saturday mornings on WTMJ.
Welcome back to Point Taken. I am Kristen Bry here with Mary Quinn Mensch, fan favorite. All right, so we have about 2 minutes, so we can't get too much into the case because I want to hear more about your ideas for solutions. But let's just lay the framework for the groundwork for how California does their elections. Because I was unaware that now you have to vote by mail. Because when I lived there, you could still vote in person. So that must be a switch in the last 10
No, they
years?
are. California is, I don't know when they adopted it, but they're one of 8 states that does it that way. And so if we're going to have problems calling, and interestingly enough, they're both red and blue states, and they're mostly Rocky Mountain or Western states. I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect there's reasons for that because of the availability of voting staff to man on Election Day. Do they have enough personnel? Do they have enough funds to run in-person elections? Is it more costly? So I suspect there's some financial reasons and some logistical reasons because those are states that have, for instance, Montana and Wyoming, nobody would ever say that those are blue states. Those are red states, and they conduct it. Wyoming in particular is one of the 8 states that conducts it by mail. And so there are delays that are absolutely built into the process. So it's not a question of fraud because they've even had newsmen, including Billy Bush, get involved and actually go through this election process with elections officials in California. And they have all concluded, both conservative and liberal ones, that it's not the people in the voting that are counting the ballots. It's the system itself. And we'll talk about that after the break.
After the break. Good timing. You really watched the clock, Mary. All right, we'll be back after ABC and local headlines.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. A U.S. Navy drone boat rescued 2 American pilots after their Apache helicopter went down near the coast of Oman. The 24-foot unmanned boat was able to locate the 2 crew members who had spent 2 hours in the water and bring them ashore.
We do not know whether this helicopter was shot down or whether this was mechanical difficulty, but these Apache helicopters have been aggressively patrolling the Strait of Hormuz looking for Iranian small boats. This comes in a part of a very high tension, and it has gone back down again in the last few days.
ABC Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz. President Trump says he thinks a peace deal is close in Iran. Today is Election Day in a handful of states. Lots of attention on the main Democratic Senate race, where Graham Plattner, who's been in the headlines recently, hopes to unseat Susan Collins in November. In California, reality star Spencer Pratt will not compete against Los Angeles Mayor incumbent Karen Bass this fall. This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 1031. I'm Neil Doyle. A Memorial Day shooting at a Glendale Airbnb is leading to new restrictions on short-term rentals. The 22-year-old was injured during that large house party over the holiday weekend, and in response now, the Glendale Common Council voting Monday night to ban short-term rental stays of less than 7 days. The ordinance also requires liability insurance, a local manager available around the clock, and additional licensing requirements. Lawyers representing Salah Sarsour, the president of the Islamic Society of Milwaukee, says his health has sharply declined while he remains in ICE custody. Sarsour has been detained since federal agents arrested him outside his home back in April. His attorneys telling a federal judge this week that Sarsour has lost roughly 30 pounds and is not receiving adequate care for his type 2 diabetes. Sarsour is being held at a detention center in Indiana. Federal officials have not publicly responded to the allegations. Sarsour's attorneys are asking the court to release him while his immigration case moves forward. And the youth soccer community in southeast Wisconsin in shock after the sudden passing of an accomplished and popular youth soccer coach.
Nate Gruber tragically and suddenly passed away on June 2nd due to an incredibly aggressive and fast-moving bacterial infection. Gruber first experienced pain in his ankle the morning of May 30th. His sister, Monica.
It's really hard right now. We have a lot of questions about the decisions that were made and the time that was lost.
The 43-year-old husband and father of 3 young daughters was a beloved soccer coach for the Bavarian United Youth Soccer Club.
They have such a strong community, and they will have, male figures in their life as well that are continuing guiding them on that path.
Greg Matzik, WTMJ News.
News about your money, the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Everything in the red now. The Dow is off 326 points at 50,459. The NASDAQ is down almost 2% at 25,430. And the S&P 500 is off 85 at 7,320. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Let's take a look at the roads, your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. A couple of typical slowdowns in some of our work zones. That includes 41 southbound, kind of tapping the brakes between Mill Road and Capitol Drive. Again, kind of typical delays as well, I should say. 94 east and westbound, kind of slow right near the stadium. Otherwise, everything else across the system is moving along nicely. Your WTMJ forecast, partly cloudy. We could maybe see a shower pop up as we move throughout the day, a high around 80 degrees. Tonight then, chances for maybe a shower or storm, some patchy fog and a low down to 63, and then we really heat up over the next few days. Hot, humid, partly cloudy Wednesday. We could see showers and maybe some severe weather late tomorrow with a high of 92, and then hot and humid still on Thursday with showers and storms likely and a high of 90. Right now, it's 71 degrees in Green Bay, 75 in Waukesha, and it's 73 degrees in Milwaukee. I'm Neil Doyle, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 1034.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Brian Wickert, owner of Wisconsin's own AccuNet Mortgage. I get that most home shoppers just go with their bank when it comes to getting pre-approved. But that's probably a mistake, because banks have a lot of overhead, like branches, fancy headquarters, and layers of management. That means their closing costs are typically $1,000 to $3,000 higher than AccuNet's for exactly the same rate. And that's not all. Bank pre-approval letters are usually weak and unconvincing, especially compared to AccuNet's rock-solid, fully verified pre-approval that provides a $2,000 guarantee to you and the seller. Our senior loan consultants will also look at every possible way to strengthen your offer and pre-approval in the eyes of that seller, especially if you're offering over the asking price. We even call the listing agent to reinforce what a great buyer you are. Banks don't do all that. Click on the blue button today at AccuNet.com and let our passionate mortgage pros help you win while you save a bunch of money, too. That's ACCUNET.com.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstead here for Tri-County Contracting. It's time, isn't it, to update the look of your house, but you don't even know where to begin. First step, TriCountyContractingWI.com. Yes, Tri-County's been in the roof business for 47 years, but Chuck, Tony, and the crew also handle siding. They've got design consultants that can help you. No exterior contractor will do what Tri-County Contracting can do for you. TriCountyContractingWI.com. It's siding that'll make you love your home again.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Midday News with Greg Matzik and Jessica Ty.
The Milwaukee County Transit System is now projecting a roughly $400,000 surplus this year, despite continued concerns for the system's financial future.
Bringing you the latest in news, sports, traffic, and weather.
Support for term limits on Supreme Court justices remains strong nationwide. A new Marquette Law poll finds majority of Americans favor fixed terms for members of the nation's highest court.
Every weekday from noon until 3 p.m.
Welcome back to Point Taken. I'm Kristen Bry. Steve is out for the week, but we are talking to retired Judge Mary Kuhnmensch all hour. We have another half hour with her today. And we've been talking about the California election results, which I think are top of mind as well. And the thing is, would it be top of mind had Spencer Pratt also come in second, right? Would this has been all of a sudden an opportune time for President Trump and Speaker Mike Johnson to talk about voter fraud again, had it not gone where there was a huge surge for Spencer Pratt, who ran as an independent but is a registered Republican. And then as more ballots got counted, the progressive candidate who was in third place has now surged up against him. And I think it's official now. I think he's lost.
Yes.
And so anyways, but there is, obviously I understand, right? When there are certain states where all the votes are counted and we have a tally the night of, and then there's certain states where we don't. We obviously in Wisconsin always know that the quote unquote Milwaukee dump. And so when you look at this, where do you see actual problems that is problems being very different than fraud?
We're trying to serve gourmet food in a country that wants fast food, meaning we want everything fast because that's how we've been trained. And the fast food is great. It's not too nutritious, but it's great because of the speed at which you can fill your stomach when you're hungry. And I say that not jokingly, I mean it. I think what's happened is because of the speed of sound, because of the speed with which we get our news, with which we hunger for news and answers, we want answers right away. And sometimes you've got to work the problem, and that problem solving takes time. In elections, it just feeds, even Newsom will concede this, it feeds fear, confusion in the minds of the general public, even reasonable, rational people who, they still say, well, why is it taking so long? And doesn't time mean that it's time for people to kind of play hanky-panky with stuff and to insert themselves in the election somehow? So that's the problem with mail-by voting in the 8 states that primarily do it that way, California being one of them, but also, as I said, some red states, including places like Wyoming and Utah. Here's the deal. California has set up a whole processing process that is based on verify, verify, verify. They have 3 default type processes that 3 different parts of the election workers have to involve themselves in. Opening them, making sure that nothing's been tampered with the envelopes, making sure that the seal on the affidavit part of the ballot hasn't been broken because they find that to be the most critical. Making sure that the signatures match what they have on file. That verification process builds in hundreds of hours of election workers' time.
And that's people. That's not a machine doing
that. That is people.
It.
That's manual labor done tediously by human beings. And we're so used to having the answer, NBC declares, President Trump the winner of this presidential election, at 10:30 at night or 8:30 right after the last states have voted. So, we want that. We're trained to want it. And that's not unreasonable. Unfortunately, when you go to a process like all ballots are sent out by mail, and you expect people to either bring it back in directly to the clerk's office in the county in which they live, or they mail it back in, so that increases the time frame by which you start the election process and the time for which you then end it. And that's causing litigation all the way up to the Supreme Court with a decision that's going to come out this month. In June, our Supreme Court is looking at that very issue of should states count ballots that come in after the election day, the actual election day of November 2nd or November 3rd.
Because as of right now, as long as it's postmarked by election day, it counts.
Correct.
So
And
if you
that's-
mail it on election day,
yes,
in certain states, and that's what happens in California, right? I think it was something
And the
like
reason we've
like
done that is-
25% of the votes were mailed on election day, so postmarked correctly, but didn't come in until after election day, which is why they're still counting.
And so it's kind of an outdated system because think about how many people really rely, and unfortunately, it's more low income people that still rely on the Postal Service for all their mailing issues, and the government still relies on it. That's how our military, they get it through military mail, but it's still the mail system. And so if as I've explained to your listeners, to our listeners in the past, old contract law that is still in place and is still considered good is your acceptance, which if you're doing business back in the 1800s with a company, you're in California and doing it with a company that's in New York, the way they did it was by mail. It was pre-telephones, after the Pony Express, but pre-telephones. And so you are relying on the mail to do contractual matters. And so the way that the contract law evolved is that the minute you postmark your acceptance of the offer that's been sent to you by the person in California, now I'm in New York and I'm accepting it, it's the day I put the stamp on it and stick it in the mailbox. And that's our contract law, which is still good law to this day. We've applied that because, again, it's using the mail service to elections as well. And so we're relying on our mail service, even though many, many people, when they really need a package and they need it fast and they need it on time, they're going to spend the extra $10, $20, $30, $40 to use UPS. They're going to use Federal Express. They're going to use any other number of the private mail couriers or services like Amazon, and everybody that buys things online knows what I'm talking about. I need it tomorrow. You'll pay the extra money to do that. We are expecting the mail service to be at that same level. And the reality is, folks, anybody who uses the mail service knows that there's always a chance that it could, A, get lost, B, that it doesn't come in on time. And so there's good reasons for why we have said it's postmarked. So look at the postmark when it comes in. And that's what states decided when they developed their voting rights by mail. Let's look at what the postmark says, not when it actually comes in. Then now it's going to be interesting to see how the Supreme Court, because they know as a reality that is the issue, the thorny issue. That's, these things come in from our military late. Are we not going to count their ballots? Are we not going to count the ballots of people that are infirmed and can't get to a voting booth on election day? There are legitimate reasons. Even Donald Trump acknowledges that he uses and has used for the last several elections vote by mail. He gave the reason that it was because he's president, but he didn't have to do that. He could say, because there's legitimate reasons for me to do it, and I rely on it because I believe in it, and that would have ended a lot of this sort of conspiracy stuff. But the reality is people are trying to use it as, let's have a conspiracy theory. Voting by mail takes more time. It takes, you want to build in verifications that people can rely on and trust. And Billy Bush, if anybody remembers him, he's the one who had the conversation with the
Access Hollywood conversation.
Yeah, Hollywood conversation. Everybody remembers that from the 2016 or 2020 election. And as a result, you should understand that Billy Bush really would find something like this very interesting. So he took his podcast live this past week.
That's a good tease. We'll stop there. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about what Billy Bush did and what he has to do with voting in California. She's Mary Kuhn-Mensch. I'm Kristen Bry. This is Point Taken.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scafidi. Sound familiar? I can't raise my arms. I can't climb stairs. I can't kneel down, which means I can't play with the kids, golf with the guys, or get through a workday without exhausting pain. I'm here to celebrate what you can do, and that's exactly what QC Kinetics patients are doing, not bracing for their next jolt of pain. It's gone. They've moved on. Back to living your lives. You've heard me talk about Dr. Caravelli and her team at QC Kinetics, and so many of you have been through their game-changing regenerative treatments done right in the office, no missing work, no surgery, no long recovery. The inflammation calms down, the pain backs off, and we love hearing from you. How we here at WTMJ helped you dig out from under that long list of can'ts and get back to living your best life. So go find out what you can do. It's a good life out there, folks. Go live it to the fullest. Let's get rid of that pain starting now. The consultation is totally free. To see if you're a good candidate, weekend appointments available, 414-667-5559. That's 414-667-5559. Don't wait. Call QC Kinetics now.
Where you live matters. Searching for assisted living can bring a lot of questions and a lot of emotion. At the Wisconsin Assisted Living Association, we believe you need a clear, complete picture without pressure. That's why we partnered with the American Seniors Housing Association on whereyouLiveMatters.org, a one-stop destination with unbiased information to help you understand your options and connect directly with providers in your area. No confusion, just tools that help you take the next step with confidence. Start your research today at whereyouLiveMatters.org.
Hi, I'm Jim Frucci, Managing Partner and PGA Professional at Morningstar Golfers Club, and I'd like to personally invite you to play your next round of golf at Morningstar. Lush green fairways, velvet smooth greens, magnificent vistas from high above our championship golf course. Morningstar was created with the serious golfer in mind, and it continues to be the public course by which all other area public courses are measured. Book your tee time today and reserve a spot on our membership wait list. Come out and see what all of Southeast Wisconsin's been talking about. Hey, you've played the rest. Now play the best.
Visit family-owned Ken Michaels Furniture and our in-store design centers where you'll still find beautiful, luxurious, heirloom-quality American-made furniture. Right now, save 30 to 35% store-wide and take advantage of our complimentary design services. Whether you're moving, renovating, or updating, our designers will help your vision become a reality. Visit Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield on Capitol Drive and in Greenfield on Highway 100 to save 30 to 35% store-wide today. Sleep better and save more with mattresses from Milwaukee Mattress and Ken Michaels Furniture. Handcrafted in our Milwaukee factory, our mattresses utilize natural materials like cotton cushioning, which dissipates body heat, Joma wool quilts for warm wintry nights and cool summer evenings, and natural latex providing superior conformability and pressure relief for aching joints. Stop in today at any Ken Michaels Furniture store and save up to 50% compared to national brands.
Welcome back to Point Taken. I'm Kristen Bryan talking to Mary Kuhnmensch, and you actually said an interesting thing at the break just now. You think in order to save democracy, is that what you said? The save democracy, help democracy?
Yes.
You think that we should limit mail-in voting?
Yes, I do.
So talk a little bit more about that.
I think the greatest generation, I think baby boomers, people my age, have been trained and we have accepted for my time on this planet, that when you vote, it is the highest part of your of the actions you can take as a citizen of the United States of America. And if we love our country and we believe in democracy, then get up off the couch and find a way, either on a bus or a neighbor or whoever, Uber, and get to your voting booth and vote in person. Now, having said that, because that's an act of citizenry, that's the highest act of citizenry. Writing letters to the editor, writing your congressmen and your senators when you think they're doing something boneheaded. That's what a democracy requires. You have to exert some effort to get off the couch, get out of your house, don't be isolated, interact with other people, and go vote. Now, having said that, we are also have a constitution that says that all citizens have the right, citizens, even birthright citizens, and I think on that decision coming out in June as well, this Supreme Court is going to uphold that there is birthright citizenship. Thank goodness for that. I'd be very shocked if they went the other way, given some of the questions that even people like Justice Roberts and Justice Coney Barrett asked the Republican advocates.
Probably won't be unanimous, though.
Yeah, it won't be unanimous, but it will be a 5-4 or a 6-3 decision is my bet. Having said that, there are legitimate reasons why we have vote by mail. We are a country that is vast, that have people serving overseas in support of our actions, whether they're in diplomatic offices or serving in the military. They still, even though it's military mail, they still rely on a mail service. We have people who are infirmed, who are citizens of this country and have a right for an accommodation to be made. And that means that people in nursing homes or people who are infirmed in home, by proof of a doctor's letter or the head of the nursing home can give a list of all the citizens that live in that particular nursing home, that's the amount of ballots that should be dropped off by the Election Commission. They should be allowed to vote by mail because they can't obviously vote in person. And there are people who know ahead of time that their company's going to send them, on a overseas duty They're now going to be stationed in the international wing of Briggs & Stratton or A.O. Smith, and they're not going to be in the country.
Or they're students, and
or they're
if
students
knowing
who
ahead of
are-
time you're not going to be here for
Correct.
election day.
And so there are legitimate parts of our population that we should have a vote by mail process. It should be secure. It should be uniform across the country. And that means that the federal government needs to do a couple of things. My solution is I am not a big believer in it has created the problem that they're dealing with. And even Newsom has said that. We're creating confusion. We're creating delays because of the process we have set up, only vote by mail. And that takes man hours because we're not using
It's also the most populous state, right?
Yeah,
so there's
well,
a lot of votes.
A lot of votes. What did you tell me? I thought it was,
Well, there's there's almost 40 million people in the state. I don't know how many people are voting because I don't think they don't have like Wisconsin voter turnout rates because, California is a red state, a blue state. And so I think a lot of people, there's voter suppression, a lot of people thinking that their vote doesn't matter. But we got to take one more break. So we'll finish up the conversation with Mary Kuhn Mensch about this after this commercial.
Recently, a seller that unfortunately ended up choosing another agent called me. She said she made a mistake, and what she was expressing to me sounded like she kind of was bullied into signing with him. Is it typical? Not always, but it will never happen when you hire a Century 21 Benefit Realty agent. I want our agents to be able to look in the mirror and say, I'd want to work with me, not because they're good at saying what you want to hear or offer the lowest commission, but because of trust. Because if you're not feeling that from your agent, that's a problem, and I don't want that. At 1.9% on the listing side of your sale with our commission capped at $19,000, Century 21 Benefit Realty leads with a very fair and transparent commission structure with maximum marketing that can get your home sold fast and for the best price. And saving money matters, but working with someone who'll tell you exactly what you need to know up front, that creates trust. And that matters too. This is Angela Calais with Century 21 Benefit Realty, benefit-realty.com, where you pay less for full service. Each office is independently owned and operated.
Hey, it's Kristen Bry from Point Taken on 620 WTMJ. On radio, people hear your voice, usually only your voice. But when I'm out in the community, meeting listeners or hosting events, I'm told that my smile is my signature. That's why I trust Dr. James Michaels and the team at Economowoc Dental Care. And yes, I drive all the way from Milwaukee to Economowoc to see Dr. Michaels and his incredible staff. Because when you find a dental team that makes you feel comfortable, listened to, and cared for, that drive is worth it. Dr. Michaels has been practicing in Economowoc for more than 25 years, and his approach is simple. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Whether you're due for a cleaning, thinking about a cosmetic option, or just need a dental home where you feel at ease, call Economowoc Dental Care at 262-567-7224. Economowoc Dental Care with Dr. James Michaels, the team I trust with my smile.
Keep the comfort in and the weather out with beautiful new windows and doors from Siding Unlimited. For ideas, go to our Siding Unlimited Instagram page. For a free estimate and honest price guarantee, go to sidingunlimited.com.
It's WTMJ's Debbie Loziga for Car Edge. The stress of car buying is finally a thing of the past. Car Edge negotiates with local dealerships for you, keeping your personal info private. With an average of 20-plus years of dealership experience, Car Edge experts know every trick in the book, saving you time and money. No sales calls, no wasted hours playing games at a dealership, just the best deal on the car you want. WTMJ fans get 20% off. Call 414-667-7413 or visit caredge.com/WTMJ for a free no-obligation consultation today.
Vince Vetrano here. Wisconsin ranks near the bottom nationally in public arts funding. Milwaukee Ballet, MISO, Skylight Music Theater, and so many other organizations rely on our community support to keep the arts thriving. When we give to UPAF, we support performances, arts education, accessibility programs, and opportunities for the next generation of artists and audiences. Northwestern Mutual will match your new or increased gift of $1,200 or more. Give today at upaf.org.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee. From the Annex Wealth Management Studios, this is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
It always goes so fast. Mary Kuhn Mensch is here. She has so much to say and so much wisdom to share. But closing on this topic for today, Mary, what are your final thoughts when it comes to what's happening in California and what this means for us for the rest of this year and midterms?
Well, I think number one, just to follow up on my thought about Billy Bush, he actually went in there with his podcast team and they allowed him in. I think he went in 2 days ago now. And I happened to just catch, don't ask me why, but I happened to catch his podcast. And I tried to get a variety of voices, and so he was one of them. And he was highly he praised, and it's still online if anybody wants to check it out. Billy Bush Hot Mics, and he actually went in, and all of the workers there, the government workers, the volunteers, he had nothing but praise for them. He said it's virtually impossible for any of them to try and interfere because they're all on top of each other. They're all on camera. He was able to get within 20 feet of them and watch exactly what they're doing, and he was amazed at the dedication and the focus and commitment to getting these done. But the problem is it's man hours. I think you looked it up. 18 million people voted.
Around 8.
Think about the time it takes to open and process those ballots, given the verification processes that states that only vote by mail have in place. And because they wanted to satisfy Republicans and other people who thought that there was a chance for fraud, they tried to alleviate it. So they pile on verification process after verification process. They have 3 double checks. That process adds time into the process. And then tabulating them, which is counting them, is another part of it. And that they do by machine, so by computer. But it doesn't concern me that it's taking this long with 18 million votes having to be processed that all came in through mail. Not at all. And Billy Bush concluded that. He said the problem is the system that we have put in place here in California, not the workers or the people who are actually fulfilling their duty by getting these things verified and counted. And he had all the trust in the world for them. So what I would say is it's an argument for why we do need to have a vote by mail process. I think we need to come up with some reasonable rules as to who gets to and how they establish that they need to vote by mail, how that process, what the time frame will be that we mail the ballots out. It should be uniform and consistent across the country. For mail ballots, every state should do it the same way. When you want to do it locally for in-person voting, every state has the right to set it up by their own election commissions that every state, including ours, has. But with uniform and consistency across the country in terms of the rules of who gets to vote by mail, how that process is done, we take the confusion and the worry out of this, and it's a necessary part of our election system.
All right. As always, we love having you here. Thank you for your wisdom. Retired Judge Mary Kuhn-Mensch, adjunct professor at Marquette University. We'll be back with more after the top of the hour news.
Welcome to The Knowledge Brokers weekly feature covering the dynamics of the insurance market and how it affects Wisconsin businesses and residents. It's sponsored by the original Knowledge Broker, R&R Insurance. Joining me today is Jeff Salazinski, Executive Vice President of Insurance Operations.
Thank you, Vince. Great to be here. AI usage is certainly all the rage these days, but this summer we have 11 interns on our campus, and the optimism and energy they bring to the building is real.
So you're investing in real human talent. That's what you're saying?
Exactly, Vince. Growing and developing the best talent in the industry is a core value at R&R. True to our Knowledge Broker brand, we take employee development seriously. We give them a full 360-degree view of our great industry.
Well, it also shows R&R is investing money back into the business, right?
It is, Vince, and we give our interns exposure to key functions of our business, so when they go back to school in August, they've learned some new skills, see how we solve problems, and they can take that back to the classroom and apply their experiences to their coursework. And ideally, consider a career in the insurance industry.
In fact, we have a couple of your interns in studio with us today. So what are they working on?
Certainly. Sales training and improving their communication skills for sure. How to build a professional network and grow their personal brand in the process.
Can definitely tell the intern program right at R&R is a priority.
We work in a dynamic industry, one that's immersed in technology and that's changing constantly. There's a lot of value to R&R to train and develop our own talent.
So why should a business work with R&R Insurance?
We're a fiercely independent, technology-forward, top 100 insurance agency. We invest heavily back into our business, and that ensures we stay on the leading edge. At R&R Insurance for 50 years, we've been investing in great people. If you're looking for a better insurance purchasing experience, we'd love to speak with you. At R&R Insurance, we know business insurance.
That's Jeff from R&R Insurance. Thanks for the great info, Jeff.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scafidi. For 70 years, Geist has been the trusted garage authority in Wisconsin. Don't let a busted garage door or opener get you down. Call my friends at Geist today. With brands like CHI, LiftMaster, they have doors for every budget and will even build custom designs to meet your exact needs. I've seen their showroom. It's amazing. For swift and reliable garage repair solutions, go to geistdoors.com. Visit that showroom featuring hundreds of doors and openers and their custom design room. Don't think twice. GEIS. Call geistdoors.com.
Wisconsin is as hard-working of a place as you'll ever find. People here are tough, but even the toughest among us need help after a serious accident. At Gruber Law Offices, we won't stop fighting for you and your family. One call, that's all.
Transform your home today. Exterior Pros. Trust the pros.
Class is in session with straight A's only for this crew.
First pitch to Bowers, and Bowers into left, deep. Johnston's back at the track, gone! Jake Bowers, number 11.
The Brewers head to Vegas to take on the Athletics.
And how about 5 homers tonight for the crew?
Our Brewers Radio Network game day coverage starts tonight at 8:30. We are the home of the Brewers, 620 WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 11:02, it's 75 degrees, partly cloudy, humid today with a high near 80. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Neil Doyle. President Trump is formally nominating Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche to take over the DOJ post permanently, but Blanche could face a challenging road to confirmation. More from News Nation's Marnie Hughes.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune is warning that, quote, nothing's a safe bet these days following Republican backlash directed at Blanche over the creation and dismantling of the anti-weaponization fund that would have paid out Trump allies for harm caused by allegedly politically motivated investigations and prosecutions. Many Democratic lawmakers also vowing to oppose Blanche's nomination.
Blanche was President Trump's former personal defense lawyer. For the first time, we're hearing from a Milwaukee duo that just cracked a cold case.
For more than 4 decades, she was only known as a Jane Doe. Now we know a woman found in the Milwaukee River back in 1982 was Berlene Trammell. The Milwaukee County Coroner's Office used some of Trammell's tissue, preserved in paraffin wax, to ID her.
Now, it's not the best kind, but it's still one that we can use for DNA analysis without having to disinter those remains and disturb, the body.
Milwaukee police officer Jamie Sermala notified the family.
The last living sister was able to submit DNA, and then a couple weeks ago, we were able to get a result back from Othram, and it ended up being her half-sister.
Jessica Tai, WTMJ News.
Was another big year for Wisconsin's tourism industry. State officials announcing this morning that the tourism industry generating a record $27 billion in economic impact last year. That makes the 4th straight year for record growth. Officials say some events like the NFL Draft in Green Bay and EAA AirVenture helped drive some of that surge in 2025. And actor Gary Sinise is coming to town for a world premiere of his late son's music on a Milwaukee stage.
Max Sinise was a composer. He died of a rare form of cancer about 2 years ago, but left something behind on his computer.
He would write epic patriotic anthems like the likes of John Williams, or a beautiful film scoring like James Horner, who scored Apollo 13 that his dad was in.
Skylight Music Theater artistic director Michael Unger.
Gary will be in town, narrate the evening, talking about his son's music and his son's journey. We'll have a 25-piece orchestra accompanied by videos of Mac.
Sandy Max, WTMJ News.
The performance, Graceful Warrior, will be August 28th and 29th at the Skylight Music Theater. Time for news about your money, the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Everything in the red, and another down day for the NASDAQ, off nearly 2% at 25,367. The Dow is off 284 points at 50,501. And the S&P 500 is down 97 at 7,308. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:05.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here for Griffin Ford in Waukesha. Hey, if you've been thinking about a new vehicle, now's the time to take a serious look at Griffin Ford's Ford American Value for American Values Employee Pricing event. This is great. For a limited time, you pay what employees pay. That's right, employee pricing on a huge selection of new Ford vehicles. Right now, they have 50-plus all-wheel drive Ford Explorers in stock starting at $38,978. How about the 2026 Ford Bronco Sport all-wheel drive? More than 20 in stock, starting at $28,995. And Escape owners get an additional $1,000 off. But what really sets Griffin Ford apart is inventory. Griffin Ford is one of the largest selections of new Ford vehicles anywhere in Wisconsin. That means you're not spending hours searching dealer to dealer or settling for something close to what you wanted. You can choose the color, trim, level, and features that fit your style. It's Griffin Ford in Waukesha. I buy my cars at Griffin. You can also do it online at griffinford.com.
A cancer diagnosis shouldn't mean we can't make plans. It shouldn't mean living without joy or optimism. Cancer shouldn't be calling the shots. At the Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin Cancer Network, we're pushing to put cancer in its place by pulling together teams of leading specialists and researchers who work tirelessly for breakthroughs, who are developing innovative ways to treat every cancer, to treat your cancer. And by providing the largest cancer clinical trials treatment program in eastern Wisconsin. So there are more treatment options and more reasons to be hopeful. So let's keep innovating. Let's keep discovering. Let's push to make every cancer diagnosis a story of survivorship and bring back the lightness of life that cancer takes away. To learn more about breakthrough cancer care, visit Froedtert.com/cancer.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all sports desk. Game 2 of the series tonight between the Brewers and A's in Las Vegas, and it was an offensive thriller last night. Brewers pulled it out 15-14 in extra innings. Manager Pat Murphy on Wisconsin's Morning News.
There was a lot of well-hit balls, but the environment's different when you're playing an offensive place like that where there's altitude, the wind was blowing out, and it's an offensive place like Colorado, maybe even more so last night.
It was the fourth game in Major League history with at least 29 runs and 11 homers. Robert Gasser on the mound for the Brewers tonight. All of our coverage starting at 8:30 here on WTMJ. Mandatory minicamp underway for the Green Bay Packers, and then OTAs will wrap up next week. Players will have a little extended break then before training camp next month. And tonight, Game 4 in the Stanley Cup Finals, Golden Knights with a 2-1 series lead over the Hurricanes. Take a look at the road. Your WTMJ time saver traffic. Still seeing some typical slowdowns 94 east and westbound in our construction zone right near the stadium. So on the brakes between Hawley and 35th in that stretch. And then also some backups in the work zone on I-41. Southbound side, you're slow between Good Hope and Capitol. Also on the brakes then on the northbound side of 41 from North Avenue to Capitol Drive.
Traffic Living Association, supporting communities and residents through advocacy, education, and service. Where you live matters. Get the answers you and your family need about assisted living in Wisconsin. Start with clear, trusted guidance by visiting whereyouLiveMatters.org today.
And your forecast, partly cloudy, humid today, a high of 80 degrees. We could see showers and storms develop tonight, some patchy fog, a low of 63, and then the hot conditions setting in tomorrow. Partly cloudy with showers and maybe some severe storm chances tomorrow as well, a high of 92. Right now, 76 degrees in Madison. We're at 73 in Kenosha, and it's 75 degrees in Milwaukee. I'm Neil Doyle, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:09.
Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue. It's time for Point Taken. Here are your hosts, Steve Scafidi and Kristen Bry.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of Point Taken. Steve is out until Monday. We still got a full show for you today, though. So, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we had Republican candidate for governor Tom Tiffany on the show. And one of the things about the show is it goes fast. Anyone who was just listening with Judge Mary Kuhnmensch, this show goes very fast. Our segments go fast. And when you have a candidate on, sometimes you have so much you want to get to that you can't dive in on one topic for too long. And one of those topics for me in re-listening to our conversation with Tom Tiffany was, he's dabbling in having questions about our election 2020, right? It's kind of as we were just talking with Mary Kuhnmensch, as far as there is this rumblings of trying to revisit about what our election securities are. And in that conversation with him 2 weeks ago, he referenced, and we pushed him a little bit harder on, what are you talking about as far as like when you think about what was wrong with the 2020 election? And he specifically mentioned Green Bay.
Second thing is the Zuckerbucks that came in, $15 million, and the Green Bay mayor hired a political operative from New York City to come and help them in Green Bay. They ultimately forced the city clerk, an elected official, out. It should only be elected officials that take care of these elections. That political operative, not elected, ended up with 3 of the 4 keys to the central count. Now, that doesn't mean that the election was not.
Well, that's my question.
Did
it change the election?
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't mean that. But you have these improprieties, and people continue to ask questions.
Oh, there's that word again, impropriety. All right. So after that election, I heard from State Representative Ahmad Rivera-Wagner, who at the time was working for Mayor Genrich, and had some thoughts as far as how Tom Tiffany presented what happened in Green Bay. So Ahmad joins us now. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So remind us, so you were the chief of staff for Mayor Eric Genrich.
Yeah.
In 2020.
That's right.
So what was your position as far as when, like, how were you involved in the election that year?
So if people remember, in 2020, in the April election of that year, Green Bay only had 2 open polling sites because we lost over 50% of our poll workers. In that case, nearly 100% of our poll workers.
I'm going to get closer to the mic. Perfect.
Nearly 100% of our poll workers due to COVID and the lack of COVID protections. We even sued the
Similar
state.
in Milwaukee, right? Milwaukee had a bunch of polling stations closed.
So in the aftermath of that, we worked with how do we make sure that the fall election is safe and protected? How do we ensure that people can get PPE? We got bipartisan support to get some grants into those elements. And I was serving as the mayor's chief of staff. My actual job that day was just to make sure that the volunteers and city staff came up for their shifts, had pizza and water, and really just made sure that we count. We knew it was going to be a long count, and there was over 24 hours of counting, and so that was really my actual job. What ended up happening the day of, despite all of this,
this is the day of the November election,
right,
not the primary.
Right, not the primary. November election. We the city was just fine, but we actually had all these outside agitators that came in that claimed that there were China ballots and tried to break into City Hall. When ballots were being dropped off at our central count, people were calling the police traitors. They thought that I didn't work for the city because I was a person of color. So they thought I was an immigrant that worked for Facebook that was running central count.
So is that who he's referencing in that quote? He was talking about you being a Facebook employee?
That's one of the people. And then we had worked with Safer at Home, a larger conglomerate of Democrats and Republicans, and they brought in some advisors just to be like, hey, these are some ways to create stronger logistic flows. His name was Michael, and so which was helping the entire state of Wisconsin, and red and blue areas had these folks in there. That is the alleged political operative that we hired. We didn't actually hire anybody. It was just an advisor that was part of a grant process that was accepted by our Common Council. There were no keys to Central Count. It was a supply closet, and no one actually had access to them. We actually live streamed our Central Count. Everyone was invited there. In fact, on the day of, Republican operatives said, this is probably one of the most transparent processes we've ever seen. Only later to be met with that when Trump lost, that somehow it was Milwaukee and Green Bay's fault because it took us so long to get the election. So I learned later that I was a Democratic operative who made up having a husband that was an undocumented immigrant, being a Facebook employee. I found that out on January 6th, when we actually had a protest outside where a current council member asked for the Proud Boys, a white supremacy group, to come and enact violence against me, the mayor, and our first black clerk. And so these conspiracy theories have real consequences. If it would be hilarious if it wasn't so dangerous. So in Green Bay, Wisconsin, the number 1 place to live in the United States.
Is it still the rating?
It's not still. But once you're number 1, you're forever number 1. One of the safest places in the country, just even recently ranked. We had to get an alarm system. I had to work with the FBI on a protection plan. They thought I made up being married to my husband. So they stalked all the medical professionals at our hospitals, which required us to do safety plans for emergency rooms, all because conspiracy theorists kept concocting reasons why they lost the election. Not because they didn't do all the machinations of campaigning, but because they needed to make up a reason to undermine the election. And so I happened to be one of those victims. And it caused real issues. We had folks attacking our police. We have the average age of our poll worker is over 60. So these are people's mimas and pop-ups, and they were being stalked and asked to be arrested. We had people attempting to break into City Hall, trying to run police officers off the road to stop them from delivering ballots. And so when I hear someone running for office to be the highest executive in our land, casually playing with the idea that there were keys that don't exist, that there were operatives that never happened, allowing for the worst actors in this state that we've ever seen, that those we're just asking questions, makes them, to me, completely, wholly unqualified to hold office at the state level. If you cannot tell the difference between fact and fiction, if you cannot understand that this is dangerous times where a lie goes a mile before the truth gets out the door, I don't think you should be governing an entire state, let alone being at any elected level. And we saw that had real consequences in our local elections. We don't elect election deniers now in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning that for a long time, there were people who were saying, we're just asking questions. Nearly all of
And that we're getting elected for like local office?
We're getting elected for local office. Nearly every single one of them lost in the recent years in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Nearly every single one that was perpetuating these lies not only didn't get reelected, and if they did, they no longer believe those lies anymore. And so I think it says something that's not a winning strategy. It's not an electoral winning strategy. Michael Gableman, that spent $2.3 million investigating our city, trying to arrest the mayor I worked for, the mayor of Madison, no longer can practice law for the next 3 years. Right? This is not a winning strategy to turn our neighbors and our friends into our enemies for the sake of political points. It just isn't something that's great.
All right, let's take a break quickly. We are talking to State Representative Ahmad Rivera Wagner, who was also the Chief of Staff of Mayor Eric Genrich of Green Bay during the 2020 election. We'll talk a little bit more about election security, where we're going from here, and we'll probably have some text on the text line because, it's always a spicy topic. So stay with us on Point Taken.
Hey, check this out. How about a free dinner at a great place, the historic Fox and Hound Supper Club tonight? WTMJ's John Mercure here. I highly recommend this great place. When you buy one dinner, your second dinner's free, even on the weekends. Wow. You're going to love the twin lobster tails, pecan-crusted salmon, steak and lobster, pasta dishes, even prime rib on Saturdays, any entree, buy one, get one free, desserts, huge ice cream drinks, buy one, get one free. So de-stress with a cocktail. Choose from 20 bourbons, 120 wines in the timbered rustic bar, 8 gorgeous dining rooms. I recommend the magnificent all-you-care-to-eat Sunday brunch. Kids and grandkids under 3 eat for free. The Fox and Hounds, tucked into the Kettle Moraine Forest, right near Holy Hill. The summer drive is spectacular. I mean, it's poppin'. A Wisconsin must-see. Escape from your kitchen with a free dinner this weekend. Serving Saturday lunch from 11 till 2, dinner at 3 p.m. Tables are open tonight and tomorrow. Google Fox and Hounds. Call and reserve.
Save big on your next painting project now at Menards. From your kitchen and bath to doors and trim, and even your ceilings. Menards carries the Dutch Boy paints you need for your next painting project. Dutch Boy's DuraFighter is a tough paint and primer that provides great scrub resistance and durability. Our knowledgeable team is ready to help bring your dreams to life, 1 gallon at a time. Stop by your local Menards today.
Save big money at Menards.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scafidi. Have you listened to WTMJ Outdoors yet? Well, what are you waiting for? Every Saturday at 2 right here on 620 WTMJ. Stories of the outdoors of Wisconsin and beyond as we celebrate everything in recreation. This week, we visit the beautiful shores of Lake Delavan, Lake Lawn Resort, all the things happening there this summer. We travel with Rose Gray. Fox World Travel, she joins us talking about traveling tips, and we're talking trees, how to keep them healthy this summer.
It's WTMJ Outdoors, presented by Outdoor Living Unlimited.
Welcome back to Point Taken. I am Kristen Bryce. Steve is off until next week. We are talking to State Representative Ahmad Rivera Wagner because he had, maybe is it fair to say, a visceral reaction to when Tom Tiffany was on our show 2 weeks ago, and when we pressed Congressman Tiffany on the 2020 election and his thoughts. He kind of threw out Green Bay as one of the improprieties. Is that the word that he used?
Yeah.
As far as the irregularities that happened during the 2020 election. And since you were heavily involved in the election in Green Bay in 2020, you had a lot of thoughts. And so I guess as in the previous segment, we kind of debunked what the ongoing accusations were. But as far as someone who has lived through threats, and everything that you had to deal with in 2020. You still live in Green Bay. Like, did you ever have the opportunity, not on a comment section, but like to sit down with people who were concerned, were election deniers, and like actually have real conversations with them? And like, were you ever able to change anyone's mind? And I guess the follow-up question to that is like, how do we put the genie back in the bottle?
Well, one, I wanted to say, like, we're seeing even now the president of the United States calling into question elections that don't go the way he wants. So right now we're seeing in California where the Republican candidate for LA mayor didn't make it to the runoff, even though that was highly anticipated. And now we're already starting to see the rise of election denialism using the kind of spitting machine of the extreme right. So one, it's still here, right? I don't know if it will always be here.
Oh yeah, go on
When
Twitter.
Trump-
Like it's still totally
right.
here.
But what I will say, one of the things that we saw in Green Bay, and we worked with a lot of experts around the country, most people are inclined to believe that the system that is set up is a successful one. That fraud is actually incredibly rare, if it happens at all, that we have great mechanisms for doing that. And so what we did in Green Bay is said, this is an opportunity for us to be more open and more clear about what does our process look like? How do we do our checks and balances? And what the research would tell you is that generally when you do a better job of explaining the process, really putting things out there, having as many extra kind of conversations that you can, the vast majority of people will be like, you know what, that makes sense. I might have had a question. Maybe there was a ring of truth to something that they were worried about. And this really dispels it and it allows them to also defend the election. What we found is that vast majority of people were like, thank you for educating us. This is really helpful. Or, I did have questions, but now I've been a poll worker. I don't have them. That was by far the vast majority of people. We still had the extremist far right, including as recently as your show, repeating debunked conspiracy theories because it thinks it scores them political points with MAGA extremists. That is where it's at now. It's not that they actually believe them. I've had meetings with Christian conservatives, MAGA leaders, and they tell me privately, obviously this is crazy. These things clearly never happened. We all know that. But then when it comes to like doing that publicly, we see them hide behind the fact that some of the members of their base will find it disqualifying unless you call Green Bay's elections fraudulent or that there were improprieties, right? We had to work really hard to go from we stole the election to improprieties, but that is a good sign that the information and putting more information out does make a huge difference. But I also think there needs to be accountability. One of the things that helped us the most was when Michael Gableman spent $2.3 million and got bipartisan condemnation for his investigation. We did have folks from all different walks of life saying, this has gone too far. And so holding people accountable for the lies and the danger of their lies, we know makes a huge difference. And that's why, as a legislator, I've been really pushing to ensure that if you are interfering with our elections using conspiracy theories and attacking poll workers and attacking individuals, that you should be held accountable like anyone else would be.
What is the current penalty if you threaten a poll worker or any of the intimidation tactics that we know that city clerks are feeling and could start feeling again come midterms? What is the actual protection that they have, and what is the accountability on the books right now?
So this is a fantastic question.
Okay.
Before 2020, basically nothing.
Basically nothing. So it was just like any kind of run-of-the-mill assault if you put your hands on someone.
And ironically, even that, there were judges that were reluctant because what they were invoking was their First Amendment right. So, for example, in Green Bay, we had a MAGA activist at a random time during early vote accuse a woman of being a mule because she was helping her quadriplegic husband absentee vote. And they thought that he shouldn't have the right to vote because he was quadriplegic. So they called her a mule to her face and tried to prevent her from actually casting a ballot with and for her husband, who was a quadriplegic. That went to court. Originally, she was fined, and then a judge later overruled it, saying that she had the First Amendment right to do that. So for a very long time, we didn't even have basic protections for poll workers because no one ever anticipated that you would stalk, harass, and violently attack a potential poll worker. That has basically never really happened in modern U.S. history, especially Wisconsin history. There has been some more laws that have passed on a bipartisan basis for poll worker protection, but the problem is those have increased. But when the conspiracy theories happen, sometimes they don't pick a poll worker. They might pick a random chief of staff, or one of the people that got harassed was the postal worker. They thought the postal worker was in on the conspiracy theory. those folks don't necessarily have the same protections, right? And so that is one of the things I've been working on in the legislature is that we should make sure that anyone that's caught up in this type of conspiracy theories are protected because it's so easy for it to become very, very dangerous, very, very fast.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for reaching out.
Yeah.
Thank you for setting the record straight. State Representative Ahmad Rivera Wagner, thanks for making the drive down, too. You were here in person.
Yeah, no, anything for you. But also, you always make Green Bay look so wonderful, and I wanted to make sure we got the record and that we didn't really accept the kind of bullshit that Tom Tiffany is peddling. It just really, really is frustrating that in the 21st century, we need people who are running for office on the Democratic and Republican side who are actually trying to change real problems that we can have debates about and not perpetuating lies that actually cost money and cost people's potential safety.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today, and we'll be back with more after this.
Visit family-owned Ken Michaels Furniture and our in-store design centers where you'll still find beautiful, luxurious, heirloom-quality American-made furniture. Right now, save 30 to 35% store-wide and take advantage of our complimentary design services. Whether you're moving, renovating, or updating, our designers will help your vision become a reality. Visit Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield on Capitol Drive and in Greenfield on Highway 100 to save 30 to 35% store-wide today. Sleep better and save more with mattresses from Milwaukee Mattress and Ken Michaels Furniture. Handcrafted in our Milwaukee factory, our mattresses utilize natural materials like cotton cushioning, which dissipates body heat, Joma wool quilts for warm wintry nights and cool summer evenings, and natural latex providing superior conformability and pressure relief for aching joints. Stop in today at any Ken Michaels Furniture store and save up to 50% compared to national brands.
Hey, it's WTMJ Steve Scafidi. Celebrate active aging at the Enjoy Life Symposium. Join Capri communities and adults 55 plus for a free high-energy day at the Enjoy Life Acting Aging Symposium. Live entertainment, a senior fashion show, and speakers like, get this, Melinda Myers and Chef Michael Fecker, the Ukuleles, and Milwaukee's Dancing Grannies. Capri Communities brings it all together for one unforgettable day, Wednesday, June 10th at Elmbrook Church in Brookfield. Register now at EnjoyLifeSymposium.com, and you'll be entered to win a Green Bay game day experience. That's EnjoyLifeSymposium.com.
Discover your new favorite city, Milwaukee. Catch a sunrise over Lake Michigan. Sip your way through craft breweries and dive into a dining scene that's turning heads. From museums and music to thrilling sports teams and buzzing nightlife, Milwaukee delivers all season long. Good things are always brewing on the Fresh Coast. The expert guides at visitmilwaukee.org have everything you need to fully plan every detail. Whatever it is you'd like to do in Milwaukee. Plan your trip today at visitmilwaukee.org.
Is it time to replace your roof? Are you looking for a temporary fix like asphalt or a lifetime one-and-done experience with stone-coated metal roofing? This is not a throwaway product. It's an investment that can save you from an insurance claim. To learn more, call Abbey Home today. And if someone asks you if you know a guy in the business, you can say no, but I know a girl. Right now, get 50% off installation on a new metal roof. That's right, 50% off installation on a new metal roof. Go to abbyhome.com or give us a call, 414-436-ABBY, 414-436-2229.
Class is in session with straight A's only for this crew.
First pitch to Bowers, and Bowers into left, deep. Johnston's back at the track, gone! Jake Bowers, number 11.
The Brewers head to Vegas to take on the Athletics.
And how about 5 homers tonight for the crew? 7-1 Milwaukee.
Our Brewers Radio Network game day coverage starts tonight at 8:30. We are the home of the Brewers, WTMJ.
All right. Thanks again to State Representative Ahmad Rivera Wagner for joining us. He and Governor Evers going down as two guys who we had to press the dump button for, but, you know, it's live radio for you. All right. When we come back, we're moving on from elections, finally. More time on Elections Day than expected, but that is okay. We're going to talk about high-speed rail. I know this is a divisive topic for a lot of people. I was not here during the Walker era when there was almost a train between Milwaukee and Madison, and now for some of us who would love to have that train here every time we have to go to Madison, lament that it is not. But having a conversation when we come back about what it would actually take to think big and put high-speed rail and make it take like 30 minutes to get from Milwaukee to Madison, or 30 minutes to get from Milwaukee to Lambeau, and you can stop taking that shuttle bus to Lambeau and actually get there in style. So we'll talk about that after the ABC News, but also local headlines from the one,
the only Neil Doyle.
ABC News, I'm Wayne Cabot. Jeffrey Epstein's executive assistant ignored reporters as she arrived today for a congressional hearing on what she knew. Leslie Groff was an assistant for 18 years. Oversight Chairman James Comer says she has information very valuable to the investigation. Her name appears more than 150,000 times in the Epstein files.
Through her attorneys, Groff has denied any knowledge of or participation in Epstein's crimes. The House Oversight Committee also plans to interview Bill Gates later this week.
ABC's Peter Haralambous. We will know after today's voting if people in Maine can overcome concerns about Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner.
The New York Times reported several former girlfriends described what they called unsettling behavior. Plattner has strongly denied any violence.
ABC's Avery Harper. Realtors are getting busy again. Previously occupied homes are selling at their fastest pace since December. This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:31. I'm Neil Doyle. A plastic surgeon in Glendale is facing felony charges, and prosecutors are accusing him of stalking a former fiancé and coworker. 51-year-old Dr. Mark Blake facing one stalking charge and 3 counts related to capturing intimate images. Prosecutors say Blake secretly tracked the woman by placing an Apple AirTag in her vehicle without her consent. According to court records, a judge ordered Blake to have no contact with the woman, was released on a $7,500 cash bond. He's due back in court later this month. A Memorial Day shooting at a Glendale Airbnb now leading to some new restrictions on short-term rentals.
A 22-year-old was injured during a large house party on Riverview Drive over Memorial Day weekend. In response, the Glendale Common Council voted 4-2 Monday night to ban short-term rental stays of less than 7 days. State law prevents municipalities from banning rentals lasting 7 days or longer, making the new ordinance the strongest restrictions currently allowed. The ordinance also requires liability insurance, a local manager available around the clock, and additional licensing requirements. Nizer Spencer, WTMJ News.
And police confirming one person in custody. 9 tickets were issued and 5 vehicles were towed Sunday night. That was during a street takeover on the city's south side. The takeover started near 14th and Forest Home and then moved over to 12th and Mitchell. The Milwaukee Police Street Task Force says it's still reviewing whether there were more arrests and citations. Time for news about your money, the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Everything in the red, and another big loss today so far for the NASDAQ, down over 2% at 25,231. The Dow is off 240 points at 50,545. And the S&P 500 is down 111 at 7,290. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Let's take a look at the road. Your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. Really not seeing any major issues, and that's kind of been the case as we start to head into the afternoon. But still some slowdowns in some of our typical spots in the construction zone, 94 east and westbound, tapping the brakes between Hawley and 35th, and then also some backups in the work zone on 41. Starting to see some heavier kind of slowdowns on the northbound side of 41. That's from North Avenue until Burla. In your WTMJ forecast, partly cloudy, humid today. We'll see a high of 80, maybe a shower popping up this afternoon. Better chance, though, for some showers and storms tonight. Patchy fog with a low down to 63, and then we really start the warm-up heading into Wednesday. Cloudy, hot, and humid. We could see showers and storm
check 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Those hot and humid conditions sticking around on Thursday with showers and storms, a high of 90. And then we get back to some sunshine on Friday and a little relief from the heat, a high of 82. Right now, 71 degrees in Green Bay. We're sitting at...
If you can hear me, can I have a thumbs up?
75 degrees in Milwaukee. I'm Neil Doyle, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:34.
Our children deserve a real chance to make it in life, and a good education is a passport to opportunity. At City Ford Collective, we're working to make sure there's a great Milwaukee school for every Milwaukee family, because...
Check 1, can you hear me?
Outcomes. And who doesn't want that?
Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
They need to thrive, and a stronger future for kids means a stronger future for Milwaukee. To learn more about our mission, visit us at cityfordcollective.org. That's cityfordcollective.org.
From large manufacturer to local pizza shop and every business in between, Summit Credit Union helps your vision take shape with loan programs, great rates, and strategic solutions. Whatever you're building, you've got this. And Summit Credit Union's got you.
We did the math. When you buy bagged mulch from the big guys, you pay $50 a yard. Why pay more for inferior mulch?
Check 1 2, check 1 2.
You'll get premium mulch for almost half the cost. And you'll see that even our economy mulch is better, for less than half the cost of bag mulch. And either choice is made with premium colorant that lasts longer. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High quality mulch and stone.
Hello, can you hear me?
A lot less. Commercial or residential.
Thumbs up if you can hear me.
.com to see our entire selection. Do you want the economy mulch or the premium? The only real difference is that the premium mulch has thicker strands, while the economy mulch is finer. But the colorant we use for both is of the highest quality, and that's why the color of our mulch lasts longer. And our mulch comes from trees, not pallets, and we process it all in-house. That's why our prices are so low. Erickson's Landscape Supply. High-quality mulch and stone for a whole lot less. Commercial or residential, visit ericksonslandscapesupply.com to see our entire selection.
When I shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, every time I come in, it's like a whole new store. It's because new inventory's arriving daily, all kinds of everything. And let me tell you, thrift store prices make buying easy. And helping others at the same time, that's icing on the cake. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
With an ever-changing inventory, you never know what great bargains you're going to be able to find at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores. It makes shopping fun because the best finds are the ones you had no idea you'd even come across. And when they're at thrift store prices, it feels good. And it feels even better to know you're helping us help others. Shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul. See that train, the midnight train runs both ways. See that train, the midnight train runs both ways.
Welcome back to Point Taken. I am Kristen Bry, and later this month on June 25th at the Oriental Theater, I am moderating another event, and it is called Thinking Big About Wisconsin Passenger Rail. And so if you listen to the show, it probably does not surprise you that I am a big fan of public transit. I lived in some big cities and was a big fan when I didn't have to have a car. Now I do have a car, but still love transit and love talking to people who also love transit and talk about what it would take to get more. So Rick Harnish is the executive director of the High Speed Rail Alliance, which he founded back in 1993. Rick, what was the conversation about high speed rail like in 1993?
Well, in 1993, Madrid to Seville opened, which is about the distance of Chicago to Detroit or Chicago to St. Louis, certainly farther than Chicago to Madison. And they opened that at 2 hours and 20 minutes, and they go through a mountain range. It's not like here where we've got real flat land. So we said if they can do it in Spain, we can do it in the United States. And that was our goal, to have a number of routes radiating out from Chicago.
There you go. And so what has, in 30 years, what has the progress looked like in the United States for high-speed rail? I feel like this is not a country that is known for embracing that.
Well, for some reason after World War I, we started really focusing on moving cars and not people. And despite the fact the majority of people wanted to take streetcars and were walking, we started redesigning our cities for cars. And the party really went out of bounds in the mid-50s with the interstate highway system. So we've got a long history of focusing on cars. Unfortunately, that's starting to turn. But we've made some progress. The Amtrak service to Milwaukee is very good. We made significant progress on improving the Chicago to St. Louis and Chicago to Detroit corridors.
And so do we actually have, because there is a difference, right? So for people who are listening, when we talk about high-speed rail versus passenger rail, I mean, obviously high-speed rail is passenger rail, and that's the bigger umbrella. But what are the actual qualifications for something to be high-speed versus when we think of Amtrak now?
Well, so what we really need between major cities is the train to be about half the time of driving and at least every hour. if not more frequently than that. So, the drive time to Milwaukee is, depending upon where you're starting, well, let's go downtown to downtown, it's probably about 2 hours, right? 90 minutes on a good day. So if you could get that down to an hour and have the train leave every half hour, you'd really have a game changer for both Chicago and Milwaukee and the places in between.
So do we have any high-speed rail routes in the States right now?
So the Acela corridor is the closest that we have.
Okay.
And, what happened there was for various reasons, political forces were able to keep it from going away. And we've made small improvements to it over time. So that's the closest we've got. People love it. Amtrak provides way too few seats. A lot more people want to ride it. So Amtrak charges higher rates than they should because so many people want to ride it.
And remind me, what is the Acela Connect?
I'm sorry, it's Washington, New York, Boston.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. And so what everyone always talks about, right, as we always talk about, as someone who both lived in Los Angeles and San Francisco, is that they've never really been able to get this done, connecting those two major metropolitan areas in California. And so what are some of the obstacles as doing this in 30 years, regardless of what state it is, of why this is hard to do?
Very simply, it's a simple answer that's more complicated, but the simple answer is because the legislature has never decided to do it. And so what really needs to happen is individuals across the state need to say, if you're in Green Bay, I want to be able to take the train to Milwaukee. I want to take the train to Madison. I want to take the train to Chicago. I don't like the fact that you're forcing me to drive.
And is this have you found this to be a partisan issue as you've, lobbied for it in different states?
Not really. At the surface level, it is. But like many issues in this country, the two parties actually agree. They just talk about it differently. Republican Governor Tommy Thompson was the one who created the very great plan to extend Amtrak service from Chicago to Milwaukee to Madison. That was done under Tommy Thompson. He's got all that planning lined up.
And because I always think about this is besides, like you said, with cars, because that's how I understand it. It's like as after World War I and the interstate was built and the emphasis on cars, because even Los Angeles, which is not known for its public transit, at one point had better public transit, and then the cars came along. And so is there just like a big motor vehicle lobby that also is lobbying against more passenger rail, or is there people who are actively trying to sabotage this, or is it just because it's hard to do hard things?
Well, as a country, we made lots of decisions, and because we did it as a country, not as we can change that. We can push on our legislators to change it. Now, the auto companies, of course, they have a much bigger budget for marketing. They did make it illegal to they created a new term called jaywalking. They made it illegal to be in the street, whereas before it was perfectly normal for people to be in the street. And then they lobbied really hard to get streets converted from walkable places to being focused on moving cars fast.
Yeah. All right, we're talking to Rick Harnisch, the executive director of the High Speed Rail Alliance, which he founded back in 1993. When we come back, we're going to talk about the event that is happening in Milwaukee, thinking big about Wisconsin passenger rail, which is being put on by the High Speed Rail Alliance. So stay with us on Point Taken.
Hey, it's WTMJ Steve Scafidi.
And Kristen Bry of Point Taken.
Kristen, did you know that only 40% of Americans have done any estate planning and only 40% of those have been properly updated?
When it comes to wills, trusts, and probate, there's a lot at stake. I needed someone who specializes in estate planning. At Walney Legal Group, that's all they do.
No intimidating lawyers. They just provide customized, friendly, easy experience. They call it lawyering the way it should be. So whether you need your estate planning reviewed
or just getting started, visit WALNYlegal.com.
See Europe from a completely different perspective with Avalon Waterways. Fox World Travel is proud to offer Avalon's award-winning river cruises featuring their signature panorama suites with floor-to-ceiling windows. Wake up to a new postcard-perfect village every morning as you sail the Rhine, Danube, or Seine in total comfort. Whether you're a foodie or a history buff, Avalon has the perfect itinerary for you. Plus, ask about our special Fox exclusive offers. Start your journey at foxworldtravel.com or call 866-GO-FOX-GO.
Father's Day is coming up, and let's be honest, Dad doesn't need another tie. Give him something he actually wants. New windows that lower energy bills, a durable new roof, beautiful siding, or a bath remodel he can brag about to every guest who visits. And during the Exterior Pros and Baths June savings event, you'll get $3,000 off your project. That's $3,000 in instant savings, but only for a limited time. Call 262-800-4274 or visit extpros.com today. Exterior Pros and Baths. Big savings done right.
A new deck from Outdoor Living Unlimited is built to last. We are Wisconsin's #1 TimberTech deck installation team. For amazing ideas, go to Outdoor Living Unlimited's Instagram page. For a free estimate, go to OutdoorLivingUnlimited.com.
Point Taken with Scafidi and Bry.
At what point does bad decisions, bad behavior become disqualifying?
My thing is, when does it give you pause as a voter to say, whether you're talking about not paying your debts, sexting, what's the line on this stuff?
Even if you don't win, there's a bunch of stuff that people know about you that they probably wouldn't have had you not run.
Weekdays from 10 to noon on WTMJ. And check out the weekly newsletter, Extra Points, by texting EXTRA to the Talk and Text line.
Welcome back to Point Taken. I am Kristen Bry. We're talking to Rick Harnish, who is the executive director of the High Speed Rail Alliance, which is putting on an event on June 25th in Milwaukee called Thinking Big about Wisconsin Passenger Rail. And yours truly is going to be moderating the event. And I'm very excited about it. And so I guess my question is, Rick, why Wisconsin, and what is the potential when we think about passenger rail in Wisconsin?
So, Wisconsin's a really cool state.
Thank you.
It's got a lot of assets.
Because you guys are based in Chicago, so you're just south of us, for context.
I'm just south of you. I've spent a fair amount of time in Milwaukee and Madison, and the bike trails is it State Park? Anyway, Wisconsin's a great place to live, and it's a great place to do business. And you've got this string of cities from Chicago to Green Bay and actually up to the state line in two different directions, plus from Milwaukee over to Madison and then up I-94 and I-90 towards Minnesota. They're all great places to be. And we can make them even better by making it possible to get between them without a car, safely, productively, and affordably. And there's a thing right now called the Corridor ID, where the states can work with the federal government to create a long-term plan. And those routes are in the Corridor ID planning process, Milwaukee to Green Bay, Milwaukee to St. Paul, Madison, and Milwaukee to Chicago. And let's get people engaged in making those plans as big as they can be, because about every 5 to 10 years, there's some money that you can compete for in order to build the things. And the people who have the best plans get the money. So we're working to get business leaders to start working together to get the state legislature to fund the design work for these corridors.
So there is no design even yet. So this is just setting things in motion to try to get our lawmakers to even fund what it could be.
So unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
The next step is actually doing design work. And that's, the people who have plans in place when resources are available are the ones who get the money.
Absolutely. Because that's a thing. And I don't know, how involved were you or where were you? Because I was not living in Wisconsin at the time, but people still talk about the train that wasn't under Governor Scott Walker. When there was money set aside, there was, I think, plans for a connection between Milwaukee and Madison, and ended up not happening. But that wasn't high-speed rail, right?
No, it was not high-speed rail. So with high-speed rail, you really do need to build completely new tracks so that you can go typically now the design speed is in Europe is 205 miles an hour. In China, they have a number of lines running at 220, and they've got one that they're doing the testing right now for 250, I think it is. But what they were talking about doing was a really good program to extend the Hiawatha from Milwaukee to Madison. And again, that was designed by Republican Governor Tommy Thompson. And they put together a really good plan. It was under construction. And I believe that there was a coordinated effort by people who just don't want Americans to ride trains to kill off projects like that one by one. Because, you know, the governor of New Jersey built a much-needed tunnel under the Hudson, which now is under construction again. Florida, Wisconsin, I think it was a very focused effort across the country to kill people's options.
Got it. All right. Well, who is this event for? As far as anyone who would want to come, who do you think? What would they get out of it? Pitch it for our listeners as far as who should be there.
So anybody who wishes they could take the train, or if they're taking the Hiawatha now, more options on when it is, when you can take the train and how fast it is. Or if you want to be able to take the train in Wisconsin and be engaged in helping make that happen, you should come to this event.
Absolutely. And it's going to be June 25th. It's called Thinking Big About Wisconsin Passenger Rail. It's going to be at the Oriental Theater. Like I said, I'm going to be there. We got a great lineup of panels and keynote speakers. And so if you text SPEED, S-P-E-E-D, to 855-616-1620, I will send you the link to the event. Rick Harnisch, thank you so much for spending time with us today, and I can't wait to see you at the end of the month.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Have a great day. Rick Harnisch is the executive director of the High Speed Rail Alliance. We will take one more break and come back and wrap up today's show.
Mark Olson here. Now is the time to declare your independence from the outdated kitchen during the Redo Cabinets 4th of July event. Redo Cabinets, where hundreds of homeowners have discovered the benefits of refacing old kitchen cabinets, celebrates America's 250th birthday. Redo Cabinets, where you'll find premium cabinet facings made here in the USA, and you could choose from dozens of colors, various hardware, and accessory selections. During the Redo Cabinets 4th of July celebration, get $1,776 off your entire cabinet project and a free backsplash, and no payments for 12 months. That's right, no payments until 2027. Incredible savings. Call us today for a free, no obligation consultation. Redo Cabinets, 414-677-6417. That's 414-677-6417. Or visit us online at redocabinets.com. Don't replace it, redo it with Redo Cabinets.
It's WTMJ's Debbie Loziga for Comfort Awnings. My motorized retractable awning is already saving me from that hot summer sun. I love that I can enjoy my patio year-round thanks to Comfort Awnings. I just retract it when I want the sun, extend it when I need the shade. Comfort Awnings even come equipped with sensors that detect rain and strong winds. This year, reclaim your outdoor space for your friends and family to enjoy every season Wisconsin has to offer. Right now, get $450 off any awning or screen. Call 414-AWNINGS or visit comfortawnings.com to learn more.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Chief Homebuyer Helper Brian Wickert. One of our senior loan consultants recently helped their first-time homebuyer client win over 13 other offers. Of course, it was a team effort with their buyer's agent, and it centered around helping our clients understand what little difference there was to their monthly payment to offer over the asking price. And again, what little difference it would make to give the sellers peace of mind that they'd still buy even if the appraisal came in up to $20,000 short. But that's not all. Our consultant also texted and called the listing agent to reinforce how well qualified our buyers were and that they could in fact still close even if the appraisal came in low. Your AccuNet consultant will help you understand your options so you can decide how aggressive you want to be. Then we do everything possible to help you win. Don't let someone else end up sleeping in your dream home. Know your options and get your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval by clicking on the blue button at AccuNet.com. That's ACCUNET.com.
Find furniture for life from Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield, Greenfield, or downtown Milwaukee.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Midday News with Greg Matzik and Jessica Ty.
The Milwaukee County Transit System is now projecting a roughly $400,000 surplus this year, despite continued concerns for the system's financial future.
Bringing you the latest in news, sports, traffic, and weather.
Support for term limits on Supreme Court justices remains strong nationwide. A new Marquette Law poll finds majority of Americans favor fixed terms for members of the nation's highest court.
Every weekday from noon until 3 p.m. WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
All right, another good show today. Thank you to Mary Kuhnmensch, as always fun to have her here. Rick Harnish from High Speed Rail Alliance, and Ahmad Rivera Wagner for driving down from Green Bay to rehash the 2020 election. We have a couple people texting SPEED to 855-616-1620 if you are interested in coming to the event on June 25th in person at the Oriental Theater. It's called Thinking Big About Wisconsin Passenger Rail. I am the moderator. The keynote speaker is going to be Hayden Clarkin, who's goes by the Transit Guy on social media. Mayor Cavalier Johnson's going to be there. Mayor Corey Mason from Racine's going to be there. Lafayette Crump. So it's going to be a good group of people for good conversations about what it could look like to try to advocate for this in the state of Wisconsin. And I just think about it, we think about the fact that our state is not always great when it comes to drinking and driving. And I think some of that has to do with people who are maybe drinking and driving after a Packers game or after a Badgers game, and just thinking about the opportunities of being able to get on a train and get where you need to go a lot faster than driving. I think about that every single time I am on 94 and headed to Madison, of how much other stuff I could get done during that commute if I didn't have to be paying attention to that boring stretch of highway. So I'm a big fan. I think this is something that we should at least have discussions about. It's obviously not going to be voted on tomorrow, but I would love to see you there. Again, for more information on that event, text SPEED to 855-616-1620. That'll do it for us today. Tomorrow, Jake Curtis from Institute for Reforming Government is my guest co-host. He'll be here for all 2 hours. And if you know anything about Jake, I have a feeling that we are going to clash on a fair amount of topics, but it is going to be a lot of fun because he is a super smart guy and I love talking to him. So for now, news is next, and then Midday News.
Shopping for new windows and doors shouldn't feel like a negotiation. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin doesn't believe in games. They never inflate pricing, and there's no high-pressure sales pitch. Just premium windows and doors built for long-term comfort, beauty, and peace of mind. Buy direct through Pella, and one trusted team handles everything with Pella certified installers every step of the way. Real pricing, premium quality, no games. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Schedule your free in-home consultation today at PellaWI.com.
When it's time to explore assisted living, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. That's why we partnered with the American Seniors Housing Association to promote whereyouLiveMatters.org. I'm Mike from the Wisconsin